Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really practical system for anyone traveling with low vision, especially on cruises or all-inclusive trips. The goal? To turn that potential travel stress into predictable, enjoyable success. There's so much truth to this, and that failure, it almost never has to do with forgetting your toothbrush. It's about the little details that weren't confirmed, like what's the hallway lighting really like after dark? How's the buffet actually laid out? Or what's the walk from your room to the main dining hall actually like? Those are the things that can totally drain your energy and your confidence. So let's be clear about the goal here. We are not chasing some mythical idea of perfect accessibility. That's a recipe for frustration. Instead, we're building a system for what I call low-friction independence. Think of it as your personal playbook that helps you sidestep avoidable problems and, just as importantly, helps you bounce back fast when things don't go exactly as planned. Okay, so let's get right into it. The most important part of this whole system is the work you do before you even think about packing. This is where you can solve about 80% of your problems before they even have a chance to happen. Now, this right here is a total game changer. Most people book their trip based on price and then try to figure out the accessibility stuff later. The book backward method completely flips that around. You call the special needs or accessibility desk first. You get your room needs confirmed in writing, an email, something tangible, and you always have a plan B in mind. This one little shift can mean the difference between a check-in nightmare and a totally smooth arrival. And the best part about this approach is how simple it is. This isn't some 30-page questionnaire. It's a binary checklist. It's just yes or no. Before a single dollar leaves your bank account, you run through these 5 things. If you get a no on any of them, you just pause. You don't book, you sort it out first. Think of this as your personal go-no-go gauge for a stress-free trip. Okay, let's talk packing. My advice, stop packing by outfits and start packing by function. And let's be real, you need to pack for the version of you that's going to be tired, maybe a little cranky after a long travel day. That you needs things to be simple. These 3 kits mean that everything you need for a specific task, navigating, setting up your room, going to dinner, is all in one easy-to-grab spot. And here's the thing, you don't need a bunch of expensive high-tech gadgets. This is about making smarter choices. So instead of that one giant toiletry bag where everything gets lost, use smaller pouches that you can identify by touch. Instead of just your phone's charging cable, bring a backup and a power bank. It's all about building in a little redundancy to eliminate those really common, really predictable points of failure. All right, so you've done all the prep work. Now, how does this system actually work on arrival day? Well, those first few hours at your destination, they're the highest risk window of the whole trip. You've got crowds, you've got announcements, totally new layouts. It's a lot, all at once. So you have to treat this time like a mission, not like vacation time, just for a little while. Listen, your first 90 minutes are a critical investment. The moment you get in your room, you set up your zones. Meds go here, charging station goes there. Then you walk your 2 most important routes, from your room to the main dining area and from your room to guest services. And yes, that means you skip the welcome party. I promise this focused bit of setup will buy you days of calm and confidence for the rest of the trip. To really understand why this is so important, let me tell you a quick story. There was a couple, and when they arrived in the afternoon, they checked out the hallway leading to their room. Everything looked great. The lighting was bright, the path was totally clear. No problem, right? Well, later that night, after dinner, everything had changed. The bright daytime lighting was replaced by muted evening lights, which cast all these new shadows. There were more people in the hall. Suddenly, that same 40-meter walk felt like navigating a different planet. They got turned around twice. It was a huge confidence killer. So what was the fix? It wasn't about them just being braver. The fix was adjusting their system. They created a little landing zone inside their room for their key card and essentials. They rehearsed the route again, but this time using verbal landmarks. They even found a slightly longer but better lit elevator path. The ship didn't change, their system did. And that's the whole point. Confidence comes from these small, kind of boring adjustments that protect you when you're tired. Okay, so your room is set up, you've got your key routes down. Now you can shift your focus to building a smooth, low-stress daily rhythm for the rest of your trip. This is all about making things like dining and excursions feel totally manageable and, fun. The buffet. It can be a complete sensory overload, but a simple strategy makes it so much easier. First, timing is your best friend. Go a little before or after the main rush. Second, always use the same table as your home base to avoid getting disoriented. And third, have a very specific, simple request for the staff. Something like, could you just walk me through the order of the stations one time? That's a clear, easy ask that gets you exactly what you need. Now, what about excursions? You see that phrase, moderate activity, in a brochure? Honestly, it's pretty much useless for figuring out if something is accessible for low vision. It's usually about cardio, not about the sensory load or how complex the navigation is. So you need a better tool, and that's this 5-question filter. See, these questions get you the real operational details you actually need. How many times are we getting on and off a bus? What's the lighting going to be like at its worst? Are there handrails? These are the practical things that tell you if an excursion is going to be a blast or just exhausting. It cuts right through all that marketing fluff. So the big question, cruise or an all-inclusive resort? The truth is, neither one is automatically better. It all depends on what reduces your personal friction. This little matrix can help you score them. If you thrive on a predictable daily schedule and having one central place for help, a cruise might be your jam. If you want to keep transfers to an absolute minimum, a resort could be the way to go. Okay, so we have covered a ton of ground. Let's boil it all down into one powerful, immediate action you can take. This is the single most important thing to do before you even start looking at prices. I'm serious, this is a 20-minute action plan. That's it. First, you create a simple card with your top 5 access priorities. Then you call 2 different providers. You score them on how well and how specifically they answer your questions. And then, here's the key. You book with a provider who can actually do what you need, not the one who just says, oh, we'll put in a request. This is how you separate the talkers from the doers. And this is what goes on that card. These 5 categories cover the exact areas where a trip is most likely to go sideways. This little card becomes your personal blueprint, your script for those super important pre-booking calls. It makes sure you get the real, confirmed info you need to make a good decision. And really, it all comes down to this. This is the big takeaway. The goal is not to find some perfect, magical destination. The goal is to have a simple, repeatable system that you can use anywhere, a system that works even when you're tired, you're stressed out, or you're under pressure. Because truly, the best trips don't start with a pen on a map. They start with a system you can trust. And when you build and start to refine your own system, you're not just planning one vacation. You are building a foundation for confident, low-friction independence on every single journey you take from here on out.